You know, the good thing about being challenged is you have to go within yourself to deal with a challenge. And we had to go within our own history. And the great part about having to face this kind of challenge is that we learned more about the United Black Fund than we thought there was to know. Thank God for Calvin and Wilhelmina Rolark. I mean that. What they did, what they started here was a labor of love. But what a combination of love and I guess you call it right and left jabs, because they fought their way into this established charity institution and network. And they took with them all the rest of us, and it continues and will continue for years into the future. Calvin's great expression, if it is to be, it is up to me. And every one of you are telling that story and living out that expression. Everybody here is living out the expression that it's an individual responsibility. There's something I can do to impact my community. And let me tell you, the times require more and more and more of us to do more and more things for more people. The times require that. This is a city that seems to have almost lost its soul when it comes to low-income families and households. This is a city that now believes that think tanks can determine which way we should go as people, as a community. You can't do it. There's no connection between the think tanks and the people. And the policies they come up with are going to reflect that. So it takes you to be the bridge for the needs of the people, what they really need. And that purse of government that has to be bent back in the direction of solving the problems of our community. Now, if we don't participate in the elections, if we don't register, if we don't vote, if we don't decide who's going to, if we don't decide who's on the council, if we don't decide who the mayor is, if we don't decide who the president of the United States is, this is what we get. 8 years like this, just like this. But if we can participate, and we can't participate at 92%, we can't participate at 90%, we have to participate at 100%. In 2002, there were 760,000 African-American males in prison and only 600,000 in college. That's because we're not participating. When they say no child is left behind, that means that if you drop out, they're going to back a bus up and throw that child into jail with adults. That's what's been happening. That's because we're not participating. We've got to get involved. We've got to recommit to this struggle. I sometimes think if Martin Luther King came back and he looked on television, he could see Condoleezza Rice in an interview on Sunday and say, well, gee, an African-American woman is the Secretary of State. And then he'd turn on the debates, the Democratic debates, he'd see Barack Obama, arguing fiercely, a credible candidate for president. He'd say, you know, we must have overcome. You see, and then if you look harder and harder, you know, you see Robert Johnson up here, or you see his wife up here. You see, you come down that line, you see somebody, a governor of Massachusetts, you see, but you know, it's like a straight line. It doesn't go laterally. It's just a straight line, one or two people coming down like a long needle. And when you get to the bottom, here are the rest of us. All of us right here at the bottom. Still, we're still at the bottom. So we've got to find a way to impact our situation. We've got to find a way to change that picture. We've got to spread our opportunities out. We've got to capitalize. We've got to create opportunities all over again. And that's really what everybody in this room is accomplishing. You know, we had an agenda to talk about orientation, and we we're going to talk about, you know, what you should do as an agency. And I think we're probably going to have that meeting at a later time. I do want to say that it's our intention to honor one of our longstanding board members this year, Reverend Jerry Moore. We were hoping he could get here today, but he's not been able to get here today. And we know that at our luncheon, we're going to present him with the Calvin Rolark Humanitarian Award. So we look forward to that. I'm looking at the time. It's about 10 after 12 now. I want Warner Session to be able to say a few words because he is our legal voice, and we want him to give us a little bit of legal guidance. And then we're going to ask anybody else who has a comment to make, particularly our board members, to come forward and make those comments. Mr. Warner Session, our General Counsel.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Warner Session, General Counsel for this organization. And let me just say welcome and say that I'm very impressed and inspired by what I've heard here. this morning. My affiliation with the United Black Fund goes back to the early 80s when I was fresh out of law school and joined the staff of then council member Wilhelmina Rollard. And of course, in the process of working for Wilhelmina, I got to know Dr. Calvin Rollard, and the rest is history. I can say that those two individuals had such a profound effect on my life and where I've arrived. And, you know, Calvin Rollard understood that this United Way giving campaign simply wasn't reaching our communities. And as Barry indicated, he challenged them to say, we need to create our own. And Calvin had a number of sayings, and I think the one that impresses me the most is that how's it go now? The only people that can save us is us. And if you look at it, the progress that we've made in this country have been by virtue of creating our own institutions, from Howard University to the NAACP and on down the line. So he understood that the only people that can save us for us is us. And that's the byproduct of what we see here today around this table, is that we have people who are out there reaching into the deep parts of the community. And it's just so important to keep doing what we're doing, that you keep doing what you're doing, and that we continue to widen the net, particularly in a time where our community is changing, the complexion is changing, the dynamics are changing, the demographics are changing, that more than ever, we really need to do what the United Black Fund does, and that's meeting unmet needs. Just a little legal, since I'm the general counsel, one of the things that's very important, we got to make sure that all our agencies remain financially and fiscally fit. Keep your books, because it's important that as we move forward, and there are always challenges coming. We had some challenges a couple of years ago, a legal challenge. And we want to make sure that if anybody ever pulls back the cover or looks under the hood, that not one of our agencies is in any way deficient in what we do. So make sure you keep your books sound, get your accountant or your bookkeeper to regularly check what you're doing. Make sure that all your corporate papers in order. Organize them, keep them in a central place. If you need help with that, I can help you with that. But we want to make sure that we do everything, we dot all our I's and cross our T's, so no one can challenge us, that we're bulletproof in every aspect of what we do as organizations, so that we don't get distracted by the nonsense and we can focus on what we really do best, and that is meeting unmet needs. So I'm very pleased and inspired to hear what I've heard around this table today, and appreciate everyone coming out and sharing their story and their mission and their dedication to being a United Black Fund agency.
All right. Thank you, Warner.